What's up, everybody? And welcome to Speak Up. I'm Sean Marcus, and I'm glad that you're tuning in with us. We really do appreciate you to be here tonight. Now, we're going to discuss something a little deeper tonight, and it's mental health awareness. Mental health awareness. It's been so many things since the internet has come, and we've been getting things called therapy and kind of getting more into things like that and intellectually really learning more about what's happening in our community and in our world. We're starting to notice things and starting to pay more attention to ourselves, to our health, to the way we act, to the way we communicate. Now, so this is brought to the point of talking about this subject. And I have two beautiful, talented, intelligent young ladies tonight that'll join me. But before I bring them in, maybe you've missed the preview, but I wanted to start like this. On the next segment of Speak Up with Sean Marcus. What do we know about those around us? What do we know about our own family members? What do we know even about ourselves? Mental health is an issue that's worldwide. Do we know the signs? Do we know those that are being affected? Could it be you, your children, a family member, a friend? It's time that we pay closer attention and help. Believe me, intervention can save lives. Tonight, we talk about that on Speak Up. I'm Sean Marcus, and I look forward to seeing you. Oh, man. Okay. Praise God. All right, so here we go. Enter my ladies. Hello, ladies.
Good evening.
Hello, ladies.
Good evening.
All right. It's been so long since we've been trying to get this together, and I'm glad that you all were able to come and join me tonight, and I really appreciate it. So I'm going to start with introductions for yourself. Anita P. Stoutmeyer, you go first, and you go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Good evening. My name is Anita Stoudmeyer. I am a licensed professional therapist full-time. I'm also a dating and relationship coach. I have a private practice here in Richmond, Virginia, and I am very passionate about all things mental health and healthy relationships, because that's the thing that each and every one of us is going to do every single day. So thank you so much for having me this evening.
Okay, now I'm gonna get this straight before you get off of here, because that is not your name, and we need to make sure that we have it right. All right, so hold on. There we are.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Did you put that in there, Anita?
I did not. It just, I don't know, that it popped in there.
Okay. Anyway, so we're gonna go to our next young lady. And that will be Dr. Nicole. So here we are. Let's see. Hello, Dr. Nicole. How are you doing tonight? I can't hear you.
Oh.
Here we go.
I'm sorry, I had myself on mute.
Y'all been messing with me all day. So okay, here we go. That's all right. Go ahead.
Good
How you doing,
everyone? Yeah, good to be here, Sean and Anita. So I am Dr. Nicole Bramwell. I am a medical doctor for a long time. Let's just say about 28 going on plus years. And so I do weight management. But in doing that, I have found out that what we're going to talk about today is extremely important. And so, I've been integrating that into what I do with my clients. And let's see, I'm married almost 23 years. I have a 19-year-old daughter that has finished her second year of college. And I'm extremely excited about life and just learning more about myself and helping other people do the same.
All right.
about themselves, not me.
All right. So let's get us all on one page here. Let me get this speak up out. Okay. And let's see how we can do this. So, with that being said, ladies, let's start off and starting with you again, Anita. Tell us about your thoughts on mental health awareness and how, with your practice, you deal with certain things and how do you help other people in this kind of situation?
So, one of the things that we saw with the pandemic that we all experienced and that many believe we're still in, that was a particular strain on our society and our world because it brought to light. Some of us had a reliance on things outside of ourselves, things outside of our home. And when those things went away, it really shined a light for a lot of people on their mental health. They then finally could see that they might have had some unhealthy coping mechanisms because a lot of people struggle to cope
That's right.
during the pandemic. So, my practice has helped to teach people healthy coping skills. My practice helps people to manage their depression or their anxiety. My practice is also very big on helping people in their relationships, helping them to manage their relationships and make their relationships more healthy.
And that's something we definitely need right now, especially in our community, because it seems like it's a lot of friction and back and forth going on and bitterness as well. Okay. Well, Dr. Nicole, you tell us some things about, I know that a lot of your practice is dealing with the weight portion of it and what can help with that and how, that's even included in mental health. So let us know about what you're talking about there.
Sure, sure. So, weight management has, what I've discovered is that the weight issue is usually a result of mental health and the things related to that, like mindset, different things that people think about themselves because of what they have learned or heard over their lifetime. And they don't even know that that's been programmed or conditioned within their subconscious. And so, they learn to say certain things about themselves, even if someone was not saying that about them, they were saying it about, their mom was saying it about herself, dad was saying it about another kid. And those things start to, they affect you later on, and people don't even realize it because it's in the background in your subconscious. And so then it starts to come out in other ways like weight. And that's why I've had to focus in more on how people handle that. And then we can make some headway in the weight department.
Awesome, awesome. So, with a lot of things that's been going on, in the news and the world, um, some people are saying things like, "Well, don't give that excuse for mental health or awareness because of the demonic murders and things that have been happening." So, we don't want to get that confused. But what do you think about that? Let's go into that a little bit deeper, Anita.
So, we recently had a mass shooting not
Mhm.
too long ago, a few days ago. And yes, I would say that mental health does play a huge part in that. That when people are isolated or when people don't have healthy support systems, when they're not able to express their thoughts and feelings in a healthy way, or they don't have good, healthy people around them or healthy support systems, people will go inside of themselves. And a lot of dark things happen when we're forced to just be with ourselves, by ourselves, just in our own head. That's why mental health therapists are so important. That's why, doctors are so important, support groups, and all of that is so important because we as people were designed we're very tribal, right? We're designed for community. But
Hmm.
what's so interesting is with the advent of the internet, with the advent of social media and the digitized world, we've actually become less communal. And
Mm.
I believe that is very much hurting us, that we're the most connected and yet the least connected that we've ever been.
Wow.
And the human psyche is struggling to keep up with all of these changes. So I do believe that mental health definitely played a part. I believe if that young man had a strong, healthy community, that if people were, kind of noticing things and paying attention and trying to get him help or getting him in to see a therapist, and I'm talking probably from a very young age.
Hmm.
So these things would have had to happen at a much younger age, that we wouldn't be in the situation we are now. So we have to pay attention. A lot of people today, they're just not paying attention. They're just not paying attention.
Do you think that because we're too self-absorbed into our everyday life, our own business, being self-absorbed into self? I think I remember we used to take photos of people. Now we take photos of us. Have we become too self-centered? Have we become desensitized on issues, of feeling for people or actually thinking and caring about people? Now, I know in situations like when we were growing up in the Black community, I never heard of therapy ever. I mean, really, it's maybe if you go get a divorce, maybe. But other than that, I didn't see a lot of therapy talk. I mean, we prayed a lot. We asked God. We went to church. That's how we did it. Now we're learning more now, and we're getting more in touch with our feelings and in the inside to know how the brain works. So, Dr. Nicole, I want you to go into a few things that you can help us kind of see what it is that we can do to get better.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. So I wouldn't claim myself to be an expert. However, I have been doing quite a bit of reading about how the brain works and how we've learned how to be who we are. And first of all, our communities and our environment and our support system, many people, even before the pandemic, which the pandemic only made it worse, did not learn how to interact with people and how to be self-aware. So I think there's a dichotomy that happens. So yeah, self-absorbed, I think, is different from being self-aware for sure. And without self-awareness, then you don't have people taking responsibility for themselves and how they interact with other people and their community. And they don't have good coping skills. But they learn that all in their environment. So different things that, again, that we've learned to say that we think, because we learn to say that, because people in our environment have said it over and over and over again, doesn't give us a healthy place to start. And so when you get put into such an extreme situation like the pandemic, although I will not use that as an excuse, because I think my big thing is that responsibility for yourself is probably the most important thing that you can do. And if you truly have self responsibility and awareness, then you are going to do things that are not only good for you, but for the people around you. And so definitely, if we talk about the shooting, the individual, the shooter, that individual was self-absorbed and in unhealthy in his mind of how he looked at people, but mostly how he looked at himself. So yes, it seems like he's self-absorbed, but I think I told you about that book, The Four Agreements. In the Four Agreements, it says that if your ego is bigger, you're actually more selfish. So being self-absorbed like that in an ego sense makes you more selfish and only thinking of yourself and not how you relate within your community and to other people, and even being best to yourself. Because the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, what would you do unto yourself?
No, that's interesting. Keep talking. Okay, I got you.
Okay, so so a lot of people don't flip that like that. You think it's only how you take care of other people, but you can't take care of anybody else well unless you take care of yourself. And that's why self-care has become so big. I'm a big advocate for self-care, especially for moms, but everybody needs self-care. But I understand from a mom's standpoint that we get wrapped up. We get wrapped up in the expectations of community and of society, rather than seeing what works for me, what helps me stay healthy so that I can keep my family healthy. And I think that those are vital, vital things that don't get talked about. We're called selfish if you think about that. We only think that self-care is getting our nails done and our hair done. not going to the doctor and making sure that you get your prevention visit done, talking to a therapist, because I personally believe everyone needs a therapist,
Amen.
especially after the pandemic and especially in light of all the violence that has happened.
And with the violence that has happened, and say, for instance, like the George Floyd thing, when people are watching that, like just say the Black community per se, and we're watching that, we've already got enough stuff that we play in our head, enough of the kind of damages, enough of the kind of miscruelties and injustice. How does that affect? I mean, how does that affect people when you're just adding on more and more of this kind of stuff? Do we get desensitized to it again, to ourselves? Where do we go from here? Who do we have to talk to? How can we relate? Anita?
So the George Floyd situation that happened throughout this pandemic, so that just added another layer. But that video created such a trauma, such a like a community trauma. Just watching that video play out, so many people were very affected by that. And even some of the marches and some of the rioting afterwards, all of those things, they have, this traumatic response on us. And so we need a way to process that. A lot of people, they classify, when they think of the word trauma, they think of things like the George Floyd situation, or if they have witnessed gun violence, or if they've, been in a war. But there are lots of other ways in which we experience trauma. And I believe most of us, probably 98% of us, have experienced some form of trauma. So we need to have a way to process through that so that we can, be healthier for each other.
And I was reading somewhere, and thank you so much for that. I was reading somewhere where it was talking about PSTD. I might be getting those initials wrong, but post-traumatic syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a doctor. I just
right?
play one on the internet, right?
right.
But no, honestly, in growing up, I always go back to me. I thought that was more of a military thing,
right.
Something shell shocked or just being in that battle and those kind of memories coming back to you. But like you said, it's trauma, and people are walking around with that have not been in the military. Right. I mean, it's all kind of things that'll trigger you to affect you, just like you would think that will. And I think what we need to do is pay more attention to people, even our own family, right? Because there's been so many suicides. Now, I do a lot of deep intellectual conversations with my children because, one, I don't want to ever find out my son or my daughter was feeling some kind of way and I didn't really try to have that close relationship to them, that I didn't talk enough or dig deeper enough. I don't want to ever feel like that, because any parent that's lost a child or anyone, you can't imagine that grief, right? So one thing that I do is don't overlook the small things, right? So I make sure that I talk, because we got to have a way to communicate with each other without losing everything in the rat race that we're all in. You guys can chime in on that, Dr. Nicole, if you like.
So absolutely. I for sure, like I said, my daughter is 19 years old, and even now, especially now, I ask, what's going on? How are you doing today? My husband does too. What are you thinking? What you been doing today? We don't just allow her to, although, teenagers, young adults, they're on the internet. Yes, they're doing their thing on their phones and what have you, but I interrupt. I go knock on the door. What you up to? What you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? And I think that having that conversation, but unfortunately in our communities, in our homes, families are so frustrated. I was actually just on a listening to a mindset call yesterday, and we were talking about how the people do things out of frustration. Parents do things out of frustration, rather than necessarily teaching the lesson, because they're frustrated about other things and that gets brought into the discipline of the child. And so a lot of children don't feel comfortable talking to their parents. And I think that that's definitely, you just cut off something that is a main artery to having your finger on your child's pulse. Now, of course, you're not going to know everything, and I'm not claiming to be a perfect parent. I've been learning as I go along, even
Amen.
though I was a pediatrician before. But we have to keep those lines of communication open. I even said to someone having a conversation one day, I was saying, yeah, I've apologized to my daughter when I went off the deep end, just because I realized that it was from frustration, and that's not the kind of communication that I wanted to have. You do, because it was her culture within her family not to do that. You just do what your parents say, no matter what their reasoning is. And I don't think that that's right, because then you don't have that child doesn't have a good frame of mind about how to have that communication, and that, yes, your parent can be wrong. And my mom was like that. She was well ahead of her time, having family meetings with my sister and myself and having discussions and even allowing us to parent her when she needed that. And so I think that that's important, that families actually switch roles. You actually can't be in that role all the time, because just life is just life. But your children are actually learning how to take that role too. You don't want them to stay there, but they're learning things from you when people need support, compassion, what have you, how to share that. And so keeping the communication lines open and truly open, not just what you want to hear, not jumping off. If there's something that I hear, I don't necessarily give a response yet. I have to go think about it, and I'll tell her that, look, I got to think about that. I'm not sure but don't make that decision yet. Let's talk about it again. Let's talk about it with daddy later. And keep that open. Don't, and so I think that that's extremely important, and we don't do it. We don't have conversations, and even less now, we're texting everything. Everything is texted. But then you got to be skillful about that. I get very skillful I will have a conversation on the text. If that's the only way I can get to you, then that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to have a full conversation and not get upset about it, and then try to transition to actually having face-to-face conversation. So I think that what Anita said is very, very important, being able to talk things out. And that's why we don't want to go to the therapist, because nobody's even talking to their own family. So you're going to go to a stranger now? Right. It's not acceptable.
Right.
I don't even tell my family that. So why would I go tell a stranger that?
Sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers, right?
Sometimes.
Yes. I mean, you know why? Because you know what? We don't care if a stranger judges us. How many relationships have we got and talked to a stranger? Yep. Because there's no judgment. But I do understand that, and that's very true. That's very true. But the main important thing is communicating and find a way to communicate with our young ones. Definitely. Now, Anita, we're not wrapping up at this second, but tell us a little bit more about you and some of the things that you do, and just kind of go into it. I want to hear it.
So I also have a podcast. It is called Better Love Movement, and I predominantly create content for women. I believe that women have the power to turn the tide that we are seeing right now. I believe in educating women on evolutionary psychology and on biology. I'm very passionate about those subjects because I believe that women are the key. They are the gatekeeper. And so they have the power to improve relationships right now if they will step up and step into that role. So I've written 2 books for women. The first book is a book I wrote for single women called Choose Well, a simple formula to determine the best man for you. I believe that when we choose the best fit partner for us, it makes it that much easier for us to in turn be great in the relationship. It's also going to make it easier for us to trust that person and, dare I say it, the dirtiest word ever, submit to that person. So that's the first book. It's called Choose Well. My follow-up book is called Do Well, A Feminine Woman's Guide to Relationship Success. And I wrote this book for women who were already in dating relationships or married, because they needed some tools on how to communicate with their man. Women have always said since the beginning of time that their men don't talk to them or don't listen to them. They really struggle with how to communicate with a man in a way that he will actually listen. So I wrote a second follow-up book for all of my ladies who are in relationships or married. And again, using that evolutionary psychology, using some skills and some tools that I learned from one of my great mentors. So I know these skills work. So you can learn more about that on my podcast. I have a YouTube channel called Better Love Movement, and then all of my platforms are Better Love Movement everywhere.
Amen. Amen. Now, I like the women empowerment thing. Yeah, we're going to have a talk.
Okay.
I like that. Hey, Dr. Nicole, talk to us. What's going on? Tell us about your practice and some other things you're doing over there.
Wow. So my practice is mostly like 99.9% virtual, which I have enjoyed. And I realize that you can actually have a great impact on people, even, virtually, because you take out the challenge of travel and time and remove that as a barrier. And I think it's about, using my skill set to be able to connect to people. I have great compassion almost to a fault, which is one of the reasons I do not watch the news, because my empathy is so deep that it's just too painful for me to watch that. So I did catch about the last shooting, and after about 10 minutes, when the next four things were all negative as well, I told my husband, I really have to leave this area. I can't stay here and watch the TV. But so, I've been helping people, believe it or not, through weight management has become kind of my ministry to actually minister to women. I've been in an appointment for 3 hours, because it took that long to get to what we needed to get to so that I could actually help that person. Because it didn't make sense to give her a nutrition plan that she's not going to be able to follow because she's carrying so much pain. And so I've been able to do that. And I feel that that's a large part of my ministry. I have friends that direct people to me to kind of help them troubleshoot things. And so I like doing that. So I'm pretty sure that will develop into a business somewhere down the line. But I do a lot of speaking. So I've been on quite a few interviews and speaking in front of people. I did that as when I was training residents, I did that as well. So I became very comfortable speaking in front of people, but realizing now that actually I still need to refine my skill. And so still doing studying on that. And I think that's something worth everybody learning, is that you can always continue to learn, always continue to get better. The moment you think that you don't need to do that, you've lost the game.
Amen. All right. Now, I was looking and reading about the suicide rate. So 15% of deaths are caused by suicide on about an average, right? And, in some states it's more. I was astonished to see that from 2020 to 2021, it was a difference of about 67% increase from just that year in men, 67% over the year prior. And I know you guys don't talk to a lot of men, so.
Did we say that?
Well, please, well, that's right, Anita. You did say a little bit, and Dr. Nicole, I'm sorry. Hey, I'm a man, so talk to me. But this is the thing. How can we, or in your relationship or development with men, why is it so hard for men to open up? Because 67% is very high. And I think a lot of pressure on men in every angle of life. And I know a lot of times women don't want to hear that, all this and all that. You know what? Women's suicide is down 31% to the prior year. Men is up 67. We all have issues. We all have problems. We all have frustration. Thank you, women. I'm glad that it's down 31%. We want to get it to zero. We want to get it to zero for everyone. The scariest thing, too, is that 20 to 30-year-old men is the highest peak, 20 to 30-year-olds. So that's our sons going through that, So I just wanted to let people know that. Talk to your kids, talk to your sons a little bit more. Everybody communicate a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, you guys can chime in on that if you would like. I'd like to hear your points on that. Dr. Bramwell, let's go with you first.
Well, my thought would be that, again, that's a societal norm that I think creates that men are not supposed to cry. Men are not supposed to, they're supposed to be the strong one. They're supposed to lead the household, that type of thing. And I think that we shut down the ability to communicate. We know that, and there are plenty of studies showing that women, because they have girlfriends, that they actually can be healthier because they have this girlfriend time.
Totally.
And I think that can be, recreated with men, that they actually talk about those things and not only about sports or different things that seem to be safer. They have to be able to talk about their feelings, but we have to change what we look at as acceptable within the community. And I don't think that is. And so they feel like they're going to get rejected. They feel that their friend is going to laugh at them. And we have to affect that from the family, from the beginning. We start telling boys that from the beginning: don't cry, stop it, whatever. And I realize that it's tricky about teaching kids, and especially boys, about being tough, but at the same time having compassion and being able to have that level of communication. But we have to learn how to do it. If we don't know how to do it, we need to learn how to do it. We need to read about it. We need to talk about it and figure it out and support our communities, the people in our communities, men, women. I'm glad it's down for women too, but nobody would ever want that for their community. 67% increase. I mean, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the survivability of that, of the community, if you have that group, 20 to 30-year-olds killing themselves?
That's right.
Men.
That's right.
Then what's going to happen to our population? What's going to happen to our legacy? Like, that goes away. I mean, much, much bigger things happen. And I'm pretty sure that's affecting families in a negative way as well. I mean, certainly we have younger adults having children. So a lot of those 20 to 30-year-olds actually have children that they left behind, I'm sure. And so that's another impact. So how do those children now learn how to deal with, they don't have a proper coping mechanism if that's what they saw, if that's what resulted. And so we really have to be tuned in and do what our part is in our corner of the world. Maybe we can't do everything, but we need to affect our corner of the world.
Amen. Anita Stoutmeyer, would you like to chime in on that, young lady?
So this is what we know in the last, I'd say even 10 years, 10, 15, 20 years. Let's go back 20 years. In the last 20 years, men have definitely struggled with having healthy community. Men do not have the rituals surrounding coming of age. Men do not have support with other men. There are younger men or boys who do not have masculine support in their home, whether it's their father, whether it's their grandfather, whether it's their uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So we are seeing a deficit all the way around with our men. And they, to be honest, and I see it in my son, they struggle with defining healthy masculinity. That's the first thing. A lot of men really struggle with, what is it to be a healthy masculine man? So they're struggling with healthy masculinity.
Let's go right there. Let's go in a little deeper there. Why do they struggle there? And we'll go with that. Let's talk about that real quick.
I mean, so many rules have changed. So many rules have changed with things the way they've been in the last 20, 30 years. And so men, especially recently, I have so many men telling me that, to be masculine is wrong or bad. And you've had all these movements that have said, if you are a healthy masculine man and you plan a date, that's controlling. So they're getting a lot of mixed messages from women that, between the Me Too and the Time's Up, they're just getting a lot of mixed messages. And so men are completely confused. Like they don't know what it is to be a good, healthy, masculine man anymore.
Well,
And
yeah.
and manhood is kind of on the chopping block. And so, we need to have a movement that says, yes, you can be a healthy masculine man. You can take initiative. You can have drive. A lot of these things, again, are biological. Men are different than women. And I've been saying this forever, that the current culture wants us to believe that we're all the same, and we're not.
No, we're
We're
not.
not. And we have to celebrate that. Men and women are different. That's a good thing. So, but I want us to start celebrating that.
And that's true. See, the thing is it's hard to keep trying to reverse the mess that's constantly being built up. Okay, so you talk to a lot of women. Women are constantly degrading, bashing, and emasculating men constantly. But then you want this kind of man. But all the way through, you're breaking them down to nothing. And then you want them to be this. Do you like men? I mean, you know what I mean? Do you like men?
Right.
Submissive. We're out of order.
Completely.
Let's just keep it real.
Yeah.
We are out of order. Now, we're not going to change this to a love show, but we're out of order. And we will come back to that, Anita, because but you know what? It's not a love show. What that is feelings. That's a breakdown in communication and love and understanding one another. Yeah.
And we are relational beings. I believe that a lot of the struggle that everyone is having right now is we are meant to be tribal and relational. And there are more people not getting married, not having children. There are more people that are lonelier than ever. And that's a mental health issue. I believe that's a mental health issue. That there are people that are lonely. People that, don't, I have clients that I have to kind of ease them out of my office after we've, kind of talked and we've done everything on their treatment plan. And the number one reason why people don't want to leave therapy is they're like, I don't have anyone else. I don't have anyone else to talk with. And so I'm like, that's a problem. That's a problem because I'm a professional. But what I try to teach them is I give them the tools and the skills to make healthy friendships and to have healthy relationships. Because they can't count on me. Like if I get sick or one of my kids gets sick, I'm not coming in. I'm going to see to my family. So, but that is something I have seen across this pandemic is so many people have no one else. There is no one else to talk with. There is no one else that they trust or they feel like, okay, I can share this and it won't be shared with other people. And that's a problem. That's a problem. We have to develop healthy relationships and healthy friendships. We are built for community and we have to learn how to do that correctly.
So how did the separation come so abruptly? How did the see that to me it's just all a plan. It's not like it just happened. This has been building from slavery, and we can go in all kind of directions with it, but it has. It's competitive. It's where we tear each other apart. We don't build each other up. It's no unity. But the thing is we've lost respect. And we've lost respect for each other because of the hurt and the pain and the betrayal that we've both done towards each other. Now, men in a lot of ways with teenage pregnancy have left a lot of women hard and hardened them. And this is a talk to the men, and this is real talk. Brothers, you don't want the woman to be as masculine. We cannot keep leaving them in a man situation. We cannot let them be a man and a woman at the same time and then expect them to be completely as feminine as we would like, because you left them in a place to be a man as well as a woman. I'm going to stop it right there, but that's just one thing. So we definitely have to get the respect back. And that's on both sides. We have to stop fighting and bickering and go forward. But back to the subject at hand. I'm sorry.
I would like to say something about that. So, I think that it is true that we do have women and men actually bashing each other. But what we need to be aware of is just because in your section of the world that you had that experience doesn't mean that every woman is doing that and every man is doing that. And I think that we tend to do that because that's our scope that we see, especially on social media. It gets exploded. So you think that that's everybody, and it's
Right.
not everybody. And so I think that, you know, that closed-minded, narrow-minded way of thinking about our world. And I think it's for what Anita said, people are lonely. They don't have anybody to talk to. So they probably even rely on social media even more as their connection to the world.
Mhm.
And what we see on TV, stop watching TV, watching TV. And that's what they show us. They show us that we can't have healthy relationships. They show us if we're in a powerful position as a woman, that we, and especially Black women, that we can't have a healthy relationship. And you see that over and over. Guess what? Now you're going to go make that true because that's what you think you're supposed to do. Same as the men. The man isn't there. He's not in the home. So we must reproduce that because now you've been programmed to think that that's how it's supposed to be. And so we have to be careful about what's going in here, what we're listening to, and definitely what we're saying. And you know, people say they read the Bible, but I'm not sure that they are reading the Bible, because, and maybe they should read some other books which say the same thing that the Bible says. But your mouth is very powerful, and as soon as you speak those things, not only are you speaking them about other people, but you're speaking them about yourself, because we are mirrors of each other.
That's right.
Right.
So, you know, again, self-awareness becomes the thing, because if you don't take responsibility, you don't become self-aware, all of this goes to pot. And we have to be able to pass that on and share that with the next generation. So mentorship too is something that I think is really something that we need for men and women, so that
Definitely.
the right thing can be modeled and you can be corrected when you're not doing it the correct way, or to find a different way so that it's better, so that your life can be the best that it's supposed to be. But, you know, we have some changes to make, but we have to govern ourselves first.
Amen. I think it starts as well. I think we got to go back to basics. We got to teach manners again. We got to have manners, things like that. We have to go back to the basics. I think a lot of times young men growing up, you're raised completely different. You're raised to see how many people you can obtain. Compared to women, it's not that way. So then men get married, they want to love, but they've never probably been monogamous ever.
Right.
Mentally, they love that woman. I'm just being honest. And it's a challenge in this. You have to be retrained, because a lot of brothers and sisters, a lot of brothers been trained to do as much as they can in that area. So we have to learn how to respect our bodies. And I think women were raised to respect their bodies. Men really didn't. And I'm not saying all men, I'm not speaking for all men. It's just what I've noticed. Okay. So in the end, it goes back to basics. It goes back to respect and love, and the conditioning that's happened inside the home of maybe a single mother. And maybe you don't even know that you're saying so many things of bitterness and hurt. In the background, your daughter's hearing it. Like you say, the TV or the background noise is there. If you're constantly doing that, that's a whole nother generation growing up to say the same thing. And we haven't changed that. So now we're coming up into a world where all of these women's daughters are getting grown. Those women are grown. And now it's a bombardment on top of men, because it's like, hey, it's 2-3 generations or 4 of this negative stereotype mess. There are good men out there. There are good women out there. We need to find out which lane you in, and you stay in your lane.
That's it.
Want to get married and love. I mean, they really do. Some people have been married 2-3 times. Look, we're getting older. You know, I'm not even gonna go any further with that, but you know, we can get started. But ladies, definitely, the one thing I want to say in closing as well. Well, actually, I would just like to say this in a closing for myself. Or first of all, who am I? I've never said who I was. All right. My name is Sean Marcus, right? I built Speak Up in order to do things like this: community building, love, relationships, anything that's making us falter, anything where we can kind of say, hey, we need to kind of change that and get better. That's what I'm about. That's what I'm about. It's not about beating you up, cussing you out, degrading anybody. It's never about that with me. It's about positive energy, positive love, and upliftment. And I know that that's not popular, but I can't even care. You know what I mean? Because my mother taught me one way to do things, and I'm speaking up. That's who I am. I'm Sean Marcus, and we talking, right? So I had to say that because y'all introduce who y'all are. I got to say who I am, right? So, ladies, would you like to leave off on anything? Because we're going to be wrapping up very shortly. And I really do appreciate you guys being here. And thank you, everybody that's tuning in. Forward this information. Do the things you can with it. Pay attention to other people. Make sure that we're listening. Make sure that we're focusing. We're out here doing everything we can with cell phones and filming this and filming that, but we can't see a person walk into our grocery stores with a assault rifle. Right? We have to focus and pay attention and be aware of our surroundings and each other, right? One thing about suicide, and this is the thing, when a person commits suicide, it's like they're saying it's no hope. But I have one thing that I like to say. If you're ever thinking about anything like that, God help you, and we're praying for you. And please contact somebody. But if you're ever thinking about that, think of this. What if? What if whatever's ailing you, what if the next day you get a phone call that can change that? What if a person calls that can change that? What if a situation happens that can change everything that just made you feel like you were worth nothing or down? But it's too late because you have made a decision that you can't come back from. You can't come back from that. That'll be game over. We don't want game over. We want wins, right? So that's my message for that. Just, hey, anybody out there feeling a little down, a little depressed, or a little frustrated, make a call. Make a call. Call somebody, 1-800-homicide hotlines, anything. Call someone. I'm going to leave on that message. But Dr. Bramwell, you have a last word.
Sure. I think I would just echo what you said, that if you have any feelings like that, reach out to someone that you trust and share those feelings, and talk to someone before you make that final decision. That final decision is final once you carry it out.
That's right.
But if you did decide, but you haven't done anything yet, call somebody, whatever, to reach out, whatever way that you can reach out to get help. Is really, really important. And what I would say is it's really important to have these conversations with your doctor when you're going. You should talk about your mental health just as much as you talk about your heart, your stomach, your heartburn, whatever it is that you're talking about. You need to talk to your doctor about these feelings. And if your doctor doesn't give you satisfactory answer or refer you to someone that can help you more, then you need to push that a little bit harder and advocate for yourself, or get someone that can advocate for you. And so, especially with Men's Health Month coming up next month, what I have realized is that I have been able to reach out to more people, not just in my practice. So this is how I get to reach out to the men, Marcus, is that I use my network marketing company to be able to do that. And so help people in their health in a different way, but still be able to expand what I do. And I really love that ability to do that. So let's talk about it. Reach out to me.
Hey,
you can
great.
call me. You can text me, 407-674-5725. I can get you some resources. I can direct you to somebody if you need. If you can't find anybody else to do that, I'm more than happy to do that. So, so I'm not just about weight management. I'm about helping people be better.
Amen. Amen. Very good. Anita P. Stoutmeyer, leave us with a word.
So I want to leave you with this. 98% of us did not learn how to do relationships well. We learned from people who were winging it. We learned from people who were just, doing the best they knew how, or doing what the people before them did. And this is the most important thing to know about relationships, whether they're with your children, whether they're with your family members, whether they're with your significant other or your romantic partner. There are relationship skills that we all must learn. I wish that I could go into every middle school, every high school, every college classroom and teach a course on healthy relationships, how to communicate with each other, how to resolve conflict, how to listen. Okay. Those are all very important skills. And so, because I believe we are communal, we are tribal people, and that we need people, I believe that some of the healing that is going to come to the world is going to happen in that realm. We have to make our relationships with people better. We have to rely on people. The idea is to be interconnected or interdependent. Our society has gotten so hyper independent. We celebrate this idea of doing everything alone and being alone. And I'm like, no, we need people, but we need to also learn healthy relationship skills so we can maintain those relationships. So, if you have questions about that, if you'd like more information about that, if you'd like to be referred to a therapist, please reach out to me. You can find my practice on Instagram and Facebook. My practice name is Growth Therapy Center. And I'm happy, if you're not in the state of Virginia, if you're outside of Virginia, I'm happy to connect you with a network or someone that hopefully can get you connected to a therapist. If you're in the state of Virginia, then you're in luck, because I have a very large group of clinicians that I can refer you to. So if you are interested in experiencing therapy, please reach out to me and I can connect you with someone.
Great, great. Well, ladies, I really do appreciate it. And hey, folks out there, get some help. If you need help, get some help. Also, pay more closer attention to your friends, family, and others. It's people out there hurting. I know you are. We all are. We all got something that we're going through. But hey, let's just be a little bit more aware of what's going on with other people, and even the people that's right there under our roof. Pay attention, because we don't want the numbers to go up. We want them to continue to go down. Ladies, I try to leave off with a little love and happiness, and make you wanna. No, never mind. Anyway, what I would say is this: when we at the end, we got to do this, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean? Somebody said, "Peace." Hey, what's up, America? Thank you for checking out the show. If you like the content and the vibe, come join us. Click on the link below. All right, ladies, have a great night, and thank you so much. I'll be seeing you shortly. Take it easy.
All right.
Bye-bye.